Hi, Matt. Welcome to the show. Let's start with the easy question. Can you explain us what is Hano's space?
Yeah, certainly. So Hanosi Space we're a space and defence services and solutions company. So our aim and our sort of motto is that we go beyond that traditional transactional recruitment piece. So we basically offer clients a wider range of services that focuses on our core DNA of being like a collaborative partner, recruitment as a service, value of service, mentorship, STEM. So we kind of we also do introductory services as well. So as part of our client base, we also like to see what else we can do for our clients, not just that hiring process. It's more about okay, what can client A do with client B, for example. So it's and then bringing them together, introducing them so they can maximize their business potential at the same time. So it's an all round sort of partnership collaboration piece that we're looking to offer really.
Space is a super niche industry, and it's an industry. I think it's the industry of the future. How did you decide to go into that industry? And maybe you can to put a bit into context. What was you doing before?
hmm Yeah, sure. So basically, I've been working in space for nearly 8 years. So the it's crossover, obviously, space and defence. I was mostly in. So obviously, we have two different worlds of space. So it was the old space world, which um, notoriously was obviously operating with defence companies, and then defence companies had a space element to their organisation, and then it was very much defence guided. And then obviously as the industry has grown, I transitioned as well. So I moved away from that old space into the new space era, which we're in now. And that is working with sort of more private organisations, startups, scale ups, companies who are really innovating and working at the forefront of technology and creating kind of new products, and then obviously taking those products to commercial use. So, and that's kind of where my background's come from. I've been in the industry for some time. I understand the industry. I've followed the trends. I've kept up with the market in terms of where it's going and where it is now. So yeah, that's kind of my background. It has been space and defence for quite some time, and just adapting and changing with the times to kind of where we are now.
Right. And this is a question I know nothing about space. So when you say old space and new space, my understanding is old space you refer to when space was only a public venture, right? Public
hmm
funded. And new space is that now the fact that private companies are getting into this industry, right?
Exactly that. Yeah, and you're getting more investors, you're getting more VC funded, so a lot more equity companies are looking at this industry and putting a lot of money behind it, especially for new ventures and new companies that are looking to obviously showcase their products and kind of revolutionize the way that space is operated now.
And why do you think that this is happening? That a lot of private ventures are coming into the industry?
I think a lot of it's to do with obviously where you've got the likes of Elon Musk and obviously the Amazon, Jeff Bezos, and those types of people where they've kind of shown that space doesn't have to be governed by government or defense. Obviously, you can't get away from that; it'll still be there. But it's just they kind of open the door out to new founders and new CEOs of who want to start up their own space company, who have a technical background, who can build a product that can rival what is already out there. And because a lot of these new new ventures are kind of operating at the forefront of technology, the technology has changed, things have become smaller. Like working with some companies out there at the moment you've got these where you have microchips that obviously power satellites, different variations from deep space communication, connectivity, space robots, and they're kind of just like having that evolution of okay, we've got this product, that X makes, but we can actually improve it, make it better, make it faster, make it smaller. So then it then reduces weight, it then reduces launch costs and things like that, really. So I think those larger private companies have really kind of shown the way that this market is now going. And you're seeing loads of new startups popping up with different offerings, better solutions to what is already out there at the moment.
Yeah, it felt the industry felt stagnated for like 50 years,
Hmm.
and now it's moving fast. And
Yeah,
yeah, I agree with you. It's the fact that technology is more accessible, because 50 years ago the technology to build rockets, it was super expensive, and now it's becoming more accessible to different founders. Yeah, this is great. I think, and I think it's going to be even much bigger in the future.
100%. It's really like this year they're predicting it to be even bigger than last year, and obviously with the various different growth plans that companies have put out there, and obviously the government and defence companies are now working with these smaller companies because they see a benefit from it as well. So it's just going to grow. It's just going to get bigger, and obviously you've got so many different projects out there at the moment that obviously you've got the moon project, you've got the Mars project, you've got the space station, which is obviously being decommissioned, and then what is going to replace that? It is a really super exciting industry, and it's ever changing. Like you just see, like I said, so many different companies popping up with different offerings, different solutions, and it's just going to continue. It's such an exciting industry to be in right now.
All right. And now it's a question for you. Why did you
Hmm.
decide to start your own business? Because you were already working in that industry, right?
Yes, I was. So basically, I've been in recruitment for a long time now, and I I've had the opportunity to work with some really interesting organisations in corporate companies, and obviously having the opportunity to learn and grow and go into different sort of areas. I've worked across headhunting, so executive search. I've done in house, so having that experience working on a large sort of RPO and being part of the extension to their teams, and I kind of felt that I'd gone as far as I could within the company, and I'd always had the aspirations of wanting to do my own company, but I'm a very sort of analytical and structured person, so I am a firm believer that everything has to slot together, and you can't go into this half-hearted because it's tough. And I wasn't deluded to that. I knew it was going to be hard work, and I knew it was going to be long hours, but I was just ready to make that step from leaving that secure environment to kind of go out on my own. And I built a really good network. I worked with some really great clients, and we've been able to build the company relatively quite quickly, which I didn't even envisage it happening. I thought it was obviously going to be quite a slow process, but the way that I kind of started and got into it from day one and knew exactly what I wanted to achieve, it's been amazing, and I haven't really looked back, and everything just was right for me to kind of make that steps. So that's kind of the reasons why I decided to start it, and like I said, yeah, I was in that industry anyway, so it was quite an easy transition and to make.
Yeah, that's amazing. This is something that I see a lot. Founders that manage to succeed, they were in their industries before.
Mhm.
I think it's something mandatory, and I made this mistake of trying to build something in an industry that I didn't really know, and then you have like small chances of success, right?
Mhm.
All right. And is there something from your early story that most people don't know?
So, in terms of my sort of early story, probably so that's a really good question. Probably just kind of how how determined I actually realised I was. Obviously, I think a lot of people that I'd worked with could see that I was very motivated and worked hard, and kind of really really took an interest in what I was working. But I think they did underestimated how motivated and determined and resilient I actually am. And so that's something that I've actually learned a lot more about myself during these last 9 months. I've actually, like, I knew I was, but I didn't know how how I what how much more I was than what people had seen. So that's probably something that people probably underestimated, of that I still had that extra gear in me that I think I've found through being a founder.
Cool. So maybe now let's switch back to the project and the idea. I know you were in the industry before, but how was the idea built? Did you start doing recruitment or offering different services? How was it shaped through these years?
Yeah, so basically the idea. So I analyze obviously my past experiences and where I've been and where I've worked, and kind of taken bits from there that have worked and bits, and obviously discard the things that didn't. And I kind of had the idea in mind of, okay, if I was going to do this, how would I make how would it be created, and how would I kind of set this up? And I kind of wanted to create a company that would slot very well within the market. So hence the name, hence where the name has come from. It is to do with constellations and Greek mythology around space. And I did a lot of research around space companies that are out there, new ones that are already out there, ones that are being formed. And I wanted to kind of create a company where we slotted into that industry. We weren't just like that typical recruitment name that people have out there. And I wanted to kind of make it meaningful. So when people wanted to know about who Hanosi was and where the name came from, that we actually had a story to tell, which I felt which was very important to me. I'm a very passionate about the space industry. I'm a space enthusiast myself. I love the industry. I think it's absolutely incredible. So I wanted to kind of match that with the name and make something and make us unique within the market. So the brand was created, and that's kind of where the idea came from. And in terms of the services, I wanted to make sure that we kind of built the company based on, like, our DNA as a team, of what we wanted the business to be, and what we wanted to set, what the message we wanted to send out to our customers and prospective customers, that, yeah, we are a recruitment business. We're not going to be able to get away from that, but we wanted to be doing more than just that sort of one transactional service. It was more around, okay, let's see which organizations we can link into. Let's see which organizations we can support. And we've been very fortunate that, when through my research and doing a lot of investigation into where the business could go, we've been able to partner with some really amazing institutions that they're not typically recruitment institutions or organizations, but it's supporting and mentoring new companies that are starting. So we're part of the UKSA accelerator program, where we work with new cohorts, and then we work with universities, and then we also work with STEM partners who are promoting services into schools. So setting the ground early with kids, and who to teach them about space, to teach them about tech, and kind of get the interest from early on. So because obviously there's a skill shortage in the space industry, it's just looking at ways of where we can kind of future proof it for the next coming years. And that's where the idea and what we wanted to
Yeah.
do came from.
I love it. Now that you're explaining it, all the dots are connecting, because it's not
Hmm.
like, okay, I don't know, I want to launch a website. I know I need a front end developer, a back end developer,
Hmm.
and a designer. But if I want to build a rocket, what do I need, right? Like, it's not common knowledge. So what I understand is that, for example, imagine that I have an idea and I want to launch rockets to orbit. There are many companies now that are doing this,
Hmm.
maybe small rockets, because The big ones are like they have big overhead and everything. So then I can come to you and ask you exactly what kind of profile do I need that will help me achieve the goal, right?
Exactly that, and also, if you want to steer on, especially if you're going to bring your business to the UK, if that's kind of where that company wants to kind of go, okay, where would be the best place for me to position myself? Where do most the launch companies operate out of? Where am I going to get the most out of the business by being in that same sort of environment? And that's something that we do speak to these companies about. We help them across market intelligence. We help them across salary benchmarking. So especially new companies that don't really understand, or they've got a massive growth plan, but they need X, Y amount of people. It's kind of guiding them across, okay, this is what the market rates are, this is what the space industry pays, just kind of, and then helping them set up in terms of a TA or HR function if they don't have that already. Okay, we can support you on that, and it's just a, yeah, very very sort of different approach, really.
Matt, and this is a super regulated industry, right? Can
Yes.
you give advice on regulation as well?
So on the regulation side, we kind of, what we do is we do have, within our network, we partner with some law companies. So what we tend to do is when a company comes to us and they ask him for legal advice or some industry standards advice, then because we're part of this, part of a network where there's a selection of space recruitment legal companies, we then introduce the companies together. So that's kind of another aspect of obviously the networks that we're part of and frameworks, is that we can connect the companies and so they can get the best possible advice, really. And that's another element that we kind of institute as well. So yeah, we put these new companies in contact with the industry experts.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense because, for example, SpaceX is not able to hire people outside from like
No,
non-US nationals.
yeah. Yeah, it's very much ITAR, like this ITAR restricted. So yeah, for a lot of the SpaceX projects, because obviously they're very connected into NASA and obviously the government in the States, they they can't. Yeah, there is there are some people in the UK that work for SpaceX, but they can only see certain amounts of information. So yeah, for them to operate in outside and obviously be able to show all, then yeah, it's
Yeah,
quite restricted.
makes sense. All right. And what about co-founders? Did you start this alone or with somebody else?
No, I actually, so when I was looking around, I actually started it with a company called SSG. So they're my investors, and the company, we've got shareholdings in the business. One part of obviously starting the business, I didn't want to get sort of bogged down with obviously the administration's part of it. So the accounting, the website and things like that. I just wanted to go out and get started. So I did speak to quite a few companies, and for me, SSG really stood out in terms of their enthusiasm about the industry, their enthusiasm of wanting to work with me, and just generally what they could offer. We're pretty much set up as a large business with the support functions that they offer, and they've been amazing. I couldn't have done it without them, really.
And SSG, what do they do? It's like a consulting company and they do all the technical part of
Yes,
accounting websites.
yeah. So what they do is they're a specialist company that helps if people want to start their recruiting business. So what they essentially offer is they offer all back office support. So from accounting to help you getting set up on Company's House, from setting up your website, all the legal documentation that you need for your business, guidance if you need it. They're not kind of on top of you in terms of kind of wanting know what's going on. They're very much support function. So if we want them, they're there, and and they
Nice.
make themselves available. And they've got a wealth of experience behind them. My investor Aaron Keep is a very well known guy within the industry. He's been there and kind of set up companies and knows exactly how sort of the right way to go about doing it. And he's been influential and in kind of supporting me whenever I've
Nice.
needed him. So that's kind of what they do. They just take the pain away so we can concentrate on obviously the day to day and and um and working with clients and getting roles filled.
It makes a lot of sense because when starting a business, sometimes there are so many different things that you
Hmm.
didn't think about that you have to do. You know, or you probably know about this, but
Yeah,
it looks like these people are covering a lot of that.
yeah, they
So
are.
that's amazing.
Yeah, they're brilliant, and the whole process was seamless. Really setting up with them, and they kind of took care of everything, and it just takes that pain away in the day to day. Because yeah, obviously that could be that any company, the operational side is always quite time consuming, and I was just so eager to get going. I think if I'd gone out and did it completely on my own from day one, I don't think I would have been where I am today.
The problem with that is that it's hard to focus on the important, which for you
Hmm.
is trying to find the right people, trying to find customers and do the match, right?
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
when you need to worry about taxes,
Hmm.
accounting,
Yeah.
which tool do I use to do outreach, you know, these kind of things, then it
Exactly.
becomes harder.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly that. And that's something I didn't really want to get involved in. Obviously, it's something that you might have to do moving down the line, but to kind of get things off the ground and moving, it was something that I kind of wanted them to take the pain away.
Now I'm going to ask you a few technical questions about the tooling that you're using and the flows.
Hmm.
Are you using AI in your funnels, in your flows?
Yeah, we are. As a business, we've completely embraced AI, and we use it. We use ChatGPT. We've got a CRM system which is AI integrated, so we use that quite a lot. Uh, a few of the team who use Perplexity, so there's a few different sort of AI tools that they use. But yeah, in terms of how it's helped us as a business, it's been very very useful. We're very careful with it, and because obviously we don't want to be seen as this AI robot that you can kind of that does everything for you. So, but we do use it. We have embraced it as a business because I think if you don't, then I think you could be left behind. There is a business case to have it in the business, and it has proved very very useful with setting up, with helping out on marketing, with helping out on campaigns, and it's yeah, I've really embraced it. So and enjoy using it. Obviously, when it can do so many different functions for you, but again, we get it to do what we need it to do, and then the human element then still comes into play just to check to make sure that what is being generated is exactly what we want to be putting out in domain or writing, for example.
Yeah, it's interesting. You mentioned Perplexity. I use Perplexity a lot as
Hmm.
well.
Yeah,
It's kind of the accountable AI, right?
yeah,
Because it cross checks with different sources.
yeah.
ChatGPT instead is for me it's like the extrovert AI, and
Hmm.
it's trying to sound nice even if it's nonsense what it's saying. But yeah,
Yeah,
Perplexity
especially
makes
with
sense.
Chat GPT, if we use that, then it's double check, triple check, just to make sure that it's that what if we do put anything out there that it's not going to cause any offence or any issues, or it actually looks like we've that obviously we have kind of double checked it and made amendments to it. But yeah, Perplexity is really really interesting, especially across obviously some of the social media tools like LinkedIn and things like that. What it can do for you is it's incredible. We use a different selection just to kind of keep it fresh. but yeah, we've definitely embraced that, the AI bubble that's out there at the moment.
Great. And about the industry, is there a trend that you think most people are underestimating?
I think there's a trend kind of happening at the moment, and I think a lot of it is to do with probably more so recruitment companies. I've found, and from speaking to organisations, is that a lot of them haven't. I'm not saying all of them, but quite a few of them that I'm aware of haven't kind of moved with the times. When we've spoken to a few clients, it's always been kind of someone's already been there. There's been an unhappy experience, and then there's a little bit of hesitation when it comes to operating with somebody else. Unfortunately, um, when we speak to these clients, it's kind of okay, giving them a more of an in-depth overview of okay what we can do for them, what we're about, and yes, obviously you've had a bad experience in the past, but this is how we're going to operate. But yeah, it's probably a lot of the recruit companies, especially within the space industry, are very much doing the same old, and you can't do that in this industry. It may work in other industries, but it's just not going to work in the space industry. You have to be different. You have to be more innovative with how you're talking to these clients and customers, and they want they want more from a partner, uh,
Yeah.
and it's more. And a lot of their relationships are based on trust. It's about trust and who you are and who you're working with, rather than you've got a profile that you can send them. It's not like that within this industry, and that's probably where some agencies, some competitors to us, aren't evolving.
Yeah, makes total sense. So if I'm getting this right, what you're saying is what we discussed before, that it's important to specialize and have a lot of knowledge
Hmm.
about the industry to be able to help these companies, because it's a super niche vertical, and people don't necessarily know which roles they need, or they will need help with legal, and you manage to connect the dots and give this like kind of 360 help to
Hmm.
these companies.
Yeah, that's correct.
Great. Now I'm going to ask you a personal question. What is success for you?
So yeah, success for me is building a strong brand within the space and defense market, being that company that people look at and want to work with, through obviously successes that we've had to date. Having a strong team around me, which I do have. I've been very lucky to have been able to bring in the staff that I've been able to bring in this year. People that I can trust, people who my clients trust and buy into, which is very key. Obviously, I've been very much the face of the company, and where we've brought in some clients, it's they're very much seen me as the main person, but through obviously working with them, bringing the team into play, the team then having the connections and the team being able to deliver the same service that I have has really been invaluable because it's then built us credibility, especially with some of the clients that we work with. They then recommended to their customers if they have a need to work with us. So it's kind of yeah, building that strong brand, having the trust within the market, knowing people understanding that we know what we're talking about, doing more than just the recruitment piece, so people can see us as a place where they can actually come and talk to us all, and we're not going to do the hard sell. That's very important to me as well. We're kind of very much built around that, and knowing our market, and that's kind of I'm building a company for a number of years, and kind of scaling my company as well as the demand increases. And that's kind of what I want people to look at us at, not just oh, it's another space recruitment company. There's actually a lot more context when they do a deeper dive and have those conversations with us.
It looks like you're going the right direction. So congrats for that.
Thank you.
So then let me ask you a more personal question. How do you manage to keep going in the right direction from a personal level, like what does a regular day looks like to you? What do you do? You wake up, do you have routines? What do you do when you are demotivated to get back this motivation?
Mhm. Yeah, it's so yeah, the day to day for us is obviously we operate. We've got a number of RPOs that we manage. So that's where these companies have outsourced all their recruitment to us. So we're white labeled as them. So that kind of having that day to day contact with these organizations, being part of the extension to their HR and TA teams really does keep you going because not every day is the same. It's very different. It's for being part of the understanding of the demand plan, understanding of what's going to be coming up, be getting involved in some high level sort of operational meetings. So that kind of is part of the day to day because we do have we do have very regular touch points. Stay and then obviously we still do the sales process, so we're still going out looking for other clients that we can partner with. I'm very selective on who that is. We're as part of our business, we operate within the SATCOM and launch services market. We don't want to deviate from that. That's where a lot of the myself and the team's background is. So we want to stay true to ourselves and make sure that we're not kind of just going into a different sector because there's an opportunity. We're very, very like focused within the market that we operate in and motivation. So I'm a very motivated individual and kind of yeah, obviously you do get your setbacks, but it's how you address those and how will you condition yourself to bounce back. And I'm a very resilient person, so if we do get a setback, it's like okay, that's fine. Let's move forward. Learn from it. What could we have done better? What could we have done to overcome that issue? It's always about preparing in case that was going to happen again, and learning from those mistakes, learning from those hiccups that we kind of have along the way, and not just sitting on them and and letting it fester. I'm very myself and the team. We have a very open door policy, and we talk a lot. And if anything's bothering us, they all know that we can just jump on the call, thrash it out, talk about it, and then move on. There's no grudges, there's no egos. It's a very open door, very open and honest company that we operate in, and that's part of the culture that I wanted to instill from day one. I've seen it in recruitment companies where someone's having a bad day and they just sit there and let it fester and fester and fester and then they kind of suffer in silence. I don't want that. I want people to be able to come to me even though, yes, I am the owner of the business, but I don't see myself as that. I'm one of them. I'm with you along the way. I want you to succeed as much as I want the company to succeed. So that's very much built in our DNA of having that open and honest approach, and that kind of then helps us overcome anything that could set us back or somebody could be upset about it, which then could obviously have an issue with their performance. But that's how we stay motivated as a team. We're very close. So and that's kind of helped us succeed to where we are today. And then we kind of involved in various other meetings with institutions. So we're part of clusters as well. So we go to the cluster open day networking events and very, very vocal within that as well. Um, just staying engaged in the market is something that we're very that we kind of do very well in.
Yeah, it looks like you're building a great company culture.
Mhm.
And I know starting a business takes a lot of time, but do you do something outside work like hobbies? Do you manage to keep them?
Yeah, so I like to obviously go to the gym to obviously wind down, swimming. I obviously got a young family, so spend time with them and enjoy take coming away from the job. Me and like friends, family have been very supportive. Ex colleagues very supportive, so still keep in contact with them and see them and for a social perspective. So and then kind of have that time just to decompress every day after a long day at work. that's one thing that I do find useful is kind of when the day finishes, you kind of just take that time, 10, 15, 20 minutes, just to kind of relax before you then tackle what else you've got on for the rest of the days. But yeah, I do like to keep active. I think it's very important that you have the healthy mind, and to help you stay focused. So that's kind of something that we do as a team. Like the other members, they're very active. They do various hobbies and interests outside of work, and it's something that I have kind of stamped home to them that they need to stay active. It's a startup. It's busy. Not every day is the same. They have to get involved in things that they probably haven't have been involved in the past with where they've come from in companies. So very important to make sure that you look after yourself and you get to have some positive endorphins going through your body.
Yeah, I fully agree. Nice. And if you can give an advice to your 22 years old self, which advice are you giving?
Um, I would basically, you probably could have done this sooner. Uh, but yeah, things happen for a reason, and obviously you can't always look back and think, okay, maybe if I'd done this sooner, I could have been here or there, and things like that. But maybe don't doubt yourself too much. You can do it. Don't overcomplicate, because recruitment isn't complicated. The most easiest industry to operate in to be able to achieve what goals and financial goals that you want to do. Connect with people, be influential with people, network, do the time, do the investigation work, build relationships early. That's kind of probably what I would say if I rewound the time.
The networking and build relationships, I think this is key and becoming more and more important in this world where things can be fake now in social
Yeah,
media.
it is, and that's the thing, especially when you work within an industry that's actually quite small. The space industry isn't big. It looks big because of what's going on there at the moment, but it's actually relatively small industry. People know you, and you bump into people, and there's people in the industry that I've worked with in the past who have an aerospace background or a defense background, and now they're in space. It's a very incestuous industry and everybody knows each other, and you can't get away. If you're gonna go into this industry and pretend or make out that you're something you're not, you will get found out. And the best way to be is to be open and honest and transparent, and you'll get a lot more respect from these companies if you're like that rather than you kind of putting up a false facade of yourself.
Makes sense. Cool. And what message, if you can send a message to customers, what message are you sending?
My message would be, if you're kind of looking for, so my current customers, I would say, um, that from obviously getting their feedback that we've achieved what we set out to do when we first met, um, and obviously we know our stuff, we know our market, we know how to operate as a business, and we've supported those customers. So I think maybe um, I would kind of say to them, obviously, thanks. But obviously, prospective customers, I would just say to them that we're here. We offer a different service. We're more innovative as a company. We can flex. We can be agile. We can support their business to move fast, to move slow. We're kind of being that innovating recruitment company that's disrupting the normal model. And we want to be different. And if they want to partner with a company that not only is providing services from a hiring perspective, but also can provide other services that could also benefit them, let's have a chat. Let's have a call, and I can give them more of a deeper dive into the day to day and the service offerings that Hanosi can provide to them, and see where we go from there.
Okay, so if somebody's starting to think about building a space company, reach out to Matt.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, yeah. If you're looking to build something, or if you're looking to venture out, and you've completed your first set of Series A or Series B or even that Series C funding, and you want some advice, or you want a plan for a scale up, yeah, let's have a conversation, and let's see what we can do, how I can help you, and obviously again with my network that I'm part of, and some of the frameworks that we're part of as a business. What can we do for you? Where can we connect you? Do you want some help with your product in terms of marketing, or connecting you to organisations that potentially would be interested in your product? That's something that we can do as well.
Amazing. Okay, and to finish, Matt, I'm going to ask you a personal question. If you have to pick one superpower that you have as a founder, what is the superpower?
I would say probably valiant as an individual, and probably superpower, and to kind of delve more into that. Never give up attitude. I'm a determined person, and my superpower would be around that sort of context. That would be
I could say, well, from the chat we have, reliable. Like
yeah.
you keep going. Amazing. Thank you very much. Really enjoyed the chat. I learned a lot about the space today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Matt.
No, you're more than welcome, Alan. Thank you for your time and reaching out and setting the call up. I really do appreciate it. It's good to meet you.